Confidentiality and record keeping. Introduction to the module. If you are a health and social carer, it is important for you to understand your duty of confidentiality. In this module, you will learn the considerations for keeping information confidential. You will also learn the way of keeping compliant and adequate records. Topics to be covered. What is confidentiality? Confidentiality. Sharing information amongst care workers. Confidentiality. Attorneys and legislation. The Human Rights Act 1998. The Care Act 2014. The Health and Social Care, Safety and Quality Act 2015. Data Protection Act 2018. When can you break confidentiality? What is confidentiality? The main theme of confidentiality is about privacy and respecting someone's wishes. It means that professionals should not share personal information about someone with others, unless that person has permitted it, or it is absolutely necessary. Confidentiality is referred to as the duty of an individual to abstain from sharing confidential information with others, except with the express consent of the other party. There are rules and regulations which place limitations on the circumstances in which a professional, such as a doctor or nurse, may disclose information about a client or a patient, and other situations may be considered confidential by the use of a contract. Confidential information is defined as personal information of a sensitive nature that is not already lawfully in the public domain, or readily available from another public source, and has been shared in a relationship where the person giving the information could reasonably expect it not to be shared with others. Confidential information includes any information that identifies an individual and gives details of their medical condition or treatment plan. When dealing with patients in medical care, it is critical to maintaining the highest levels of confidentiality, because this type of information is sensitive. Confidentiality. Sharing information amongst care workers. If there is a team of health and social workers supporting an individual who lacks capacity, then it may be necessary to share information amongst members of this group. If the individual lacks the capacity to consent to share this information, then the decision-maker must make a best interests decision. They should only disclose the information that is important for others to provide an adequate level of care. The decision to disclose the information applies to one specific circumstance in the same way as a capacity assessment relates to one decision. Confidentiality. Attorneys and legislation. If the individual has a personal welfare lasting power of attorney, then the appointed attorney should be consulted about which information to disclose whenever possible. If there is no opportunity to ask the attorney in a time-critical situation, then they must receive a briefing after the emergency, which explains how the actions and decisions were in the best interests of the individual. There are some laws relating to the concept of confidentiality. The Human Rights Act 1998. The Care Act 2014. The Health and Social Care, Safety and Quality Act 2015. The Data Protection Act 2018 and the GDPR. The Human Rights Act 1998. The Human Rights Act provides every individual with the right to respect their private life. This involves having any personal information held in confidence. This right, however, is not perfect and can be overridden if necessary, such as for a safeguarding concern. The Care Act 2014. The Care Act encourages people engaged in care professions to take a person-centered approach when safeguarding vulnerable adults. It also establishes a new way of thinking about adult social care by emphasizing the importance of sharing information early on to keep individuals safe. The Health and Social Care, Safety and Quality Act 2015. This act sets out a number of provisions relating to health and social care services. The Health and Social Care, Safety and Quality Act 2015 covers the integration of information relating to users of health and social services. It also describes the sharing of information for individuals who use health and social care services. Data Protection Act 2018. The Data Protection Act 2018 outlines the data protection principles that must be followed, such as: the use of data must be fair, transparent and lawful. The data must be collected and processed for a specific purpose. It must be adequate, but limited to what is necessary. Data must be updated and held for no longer than is required. Data must be kept safe and secure. The Information Commissioner protects the rights of the public on data privacy matters. According to the Data Protection Act, personal information must be processed lawfully, fairly, and transparently, collected for specified, explicit and legitimate purposes, relevant, adequate and limited to what's essential for the purposes of why it was collected, accurate and update, not be kept for longer than is necessary, processed with appropriate security, including protection against accidental loss. When can you break confidentiality? In certain circumstances, you can lessen your duty of confidentiality to patients if it is done to protect their best interests or the interests of the public. You may set aside your duty if your information suggests that a patient is at risk of being harmed. Your information suggests that a patient is posing a threat to somebody else. In these cases, you should always report your concerns to your manager. You should also contribute to any further actions that are taken to reduce the risk of harm. Summary. In this module, you have learnt: confidentiality is referred to as the duty of an individual to abstain from disclosing confidential information to others unless the other party gives consent. When dealing with patients in medical care, it is essential to maintaining the highest levels of confidentiality as this type of information is sensitive. If there is a team of health and social workers supporting an individual who lacks capacity, then it may be necessary to share information amongst members of this group. In certain circumstances, you can reduce your duty of confidentiality to patients if it is done to protect their best interests or the interests of the public. Thank you. This is the end of this module. Thanks for watching. Happy learning.